Oh, yeah, I never get tired of that info screen. Wow. Oh, man. Once again, guys, we are back with the LPL English stream. It is going to be the second set of the night. If you thought that last two set between LGD and World Elite Academy was great, oh, you're going to love this one. I hope you're all ready for it. Frosk, I hope our computers are ready for this one. They seem to have not been able to handle the action that those last games threw at them.
I hope so indeed, because this next set is supposed to be even more explosive than the last one. EDG versus Invictus Gaming. I know you're talking about excitement, but these are literally my two favorite teams coming head to head here. I'm not going to hide my Invictus Gaming bias. I am a complete fangirl for them, but I do love me some EDG. FCZF is my favorite player.
Yeah, both these teams absolutely fantastic, definite top contenders. Even though it's extremely early on, both these teams were actually featured in the last finals. This is their big rematch, and this is a really, really intense game for IG, despite the fact that they're still undefeated in the LPL summer. If I recall correctly, they've never actually beaten Edward Gaming, haven't they?
They have never beaten Edward Gaming. They are 7-0 to EDG right now. And you are correct. This is a complete rematch of the finals that we saw in the 2013 LPL playoffs here. So let's hope that turns out better. At least I hope that it turns out better for Invictus Gaming than it did last time. In the finals for the playoffs, they got 3-0'd by EDG. So not the best performance from Invictus Gaming.
And if you didn't, of course, see those by the transitive property, haven't been beaten, that's, of course, going to be something that you have to focus to figure that one out. There we go. But here we go. Invictus Gaming also has a couple of changes. They do have a lot of long-standing experience, but one notable difference. A new player in the top lane, replacing the old member of the old guard, PDD, out for new Korean player who actually speaks pretty good Mandarin. It is Yang-Soo, of course. And I know you have something to say about PDD's departure, though.
I almost want to do a moment of silence for the departure of PDD. With his departure, I know that Kelsey likes to say that Xiao Xiao, when he left, it was kind of the old dying of IG's initial roster. But I feel like PDD was kind of the last king of the top lane. I feel that a lot of top laners in LPL are more about, it's fantastic because we're about to see Koro in this game. Koro is the epitome of what the top laner is in China. You think about Going, you think about Koro, they're very much that tanky bruiser, I create space for my team. I mean, obviously it's starting to transition a little bit more in picks to Kayle, to Jax, but that's just because of like how the meta reflects that. But they're very more about creating space for their team, about being supportive for their team, almost like utility top laners. Again, it's all about the AD carry. I feel like PDD was this is all about me. I'm going to be the hard carry. I'm going to 1v1 my lane. Almost like the Zion Spartan-esque of China, except Zion Spartan is like the PDD of North America, because PDD has been around for so long, hailed by Mac Noon as being the best Jace in the world. Of course, his Rumble that showed up at, I believe it was at All-Stars a few years ago when Invictus Gaming was still kind of the top dog in the neighborhood. And I'm really sad to see him go. I feel like a lot of people, a lot of Westerners especially, didn't realize the length of legacy that PDD had behind him.
That was quite the stirring tribute, Frosk, and I can tell that you definitely have a lot of heart in that. I think Invictus is a team that, despite the changing over, so to speak, they make a lot of smart moves. You look at a player like Yang-Soo, he comes from Mook Comet, which is just a totally out there team in Korea, not particularly well known and definitely down in the lower secondary leagues of play, but he was very competent on the solo queue ladder. He gained a lot of attention for both his play and from Invictus, the fact that he speaks very fluent, or at least passable, Mandarin was a huge plus to them. They didn't want to have any communication issues, and you see this kind of cropping up. Even Insect had to adjust quite a lot. coming over to Starhorn.
Yeah, Insect actually has a Chinese teacher with him in the Starhorn house, teaching Zero and him Chinese so they can communicate with their teammates, of course. Youngsu does speak Mandarin. He's actually it's funny because when you look at the Chinese teams, when they picked up Korean players, they picked up 2 Korean players because the communications issue. It's like, we can't just have one because then he doesn't have anyone to talk to. We almost have to bring along a friend for him. So obviously you have Ninja, Axion, on World Elite.
Buddy system, there you go. That's why it happened.
It is the buddy system, but on Invictus Gaming you only have 1 Korean, and of course it's because he speaks Mandarin, but a little lonesome on his own there. But Invictus Gaming, other than Youngsu, a fantastic roster coming across the board. I have to hype them up right now, especially because we're padding time until we get the teams into Champion Select. In the jungle, you have Illusion, and I think that this is really important to bring up because it's going to be Illusion versus Clearlove this game. Clearlove from Rising Stars, then on World Elite, then I'll use the word poached. Poached from World Elite to EDG's roster. Clearlove is known... They're almost like the inverse junglers of each other. Illusion is known really well for kind of his early jungle control and his early map aggression. Very gank heavy, very in your face, I'll invade your jungle, I'll kill you. But he's not well known for his team fights. In fact, he looks very disorganized kind of in the late game, which is very much kind of how IG is. They're very much an early game team. They kind of fall apart a little bit. EDG, Clearlove, very much more conservative in his jungle. He likes to farm, and then he comes out huge in team fights. He's a great team fighter. In fact, I think that EDG has the best team fight in the world right now of all the teams. How reactionary they are, how proficient they are, especially when they're firing on all cylinders there. Stats on the screen are, of course, going to show last game stats. And I want to talk about like how Clearlove really got that way, because we are talking about kind of longevity rosters, players that have come and gone. Clearlove was trained in the jungle when Messiah was a mid laner, and people always talk about kind of the great mid laners, you know, Faker comes up a lot, Toys comes up a lot, Messiah definitely in there, and I feel like Messiah wasn't a great mid laner because of his 1v1 abilities. Messiah was known as a Twisted Fate player, possibly the best Twisted Fate player that has ever played League of Legends. So it's all about map control with Twisted Fate. Messiah would lose lanes to Faker and Toys, but he would make up for it with his roam potential, and obviously Clearlove learned a jungle, like, if you have a mid laner whose key strength is roaming and making plays happen around the map when you're kind of in your big jungle swing, you're going to learn to kind of stay in your jungle to farm up and to come out and kind of one-shot someone. So I think this really influenced how Clearlove looks at the jungle and how he continues to jungle today. We've seen a little bit of a change from him trying to pick up the aggression into the early game. EDG again, I feel like they're almost in this great transition phase. They kind of had their LPL split, which was fantastic. They ended up taking first in the playoffs, but were second all the way through the split until the playoffs. And they kind of got it all working together. Their games were stalled out. They continuously put little U on utility-based mages to like Ziggs to stall the game out, to give them time to kind of get it together. But over time, their games started getting shorter and shorter. They started figuring out all the pieces, their players realizing their strengths. And I feel like Clearlove, U, Name, of course, everyone's really started to bloom.
And you mentioned you, especially. We'll get to Name in a moment, but he was put on all these utility pickups, Ziggs and Lulu. But what doesn't always get a whole lot of press is the fact that he kind of doesn't really like that style. He really likes to make big plays. You've seen his Zed and his Nidalee play are really, really scary aggressive. And of course, this is 4-9. This is a patch where Nidalee is still ridiculously spear-throwing machine. And this is sort of an unknown right now. EDG has this secret weapon back pocket. They can pull out something crazy. Now, Yu has not really had to do that lately because the rest of his team has really stepped up to this plate. Going back to Name, this is an AD carry that comes up in every discussion as, if not the best in the world, very much in like that top 3 level. I'll let you take this one over.
No, I just want to save it for when Name's actually on the screen, because actually they're showing Zatai, and again, I love Invictus Gaming. Zatai, actually very young, is considered a veteran player. He started playing this game when he was 13, 14 years old. He's only 16 years old, and he's considered kind of up in the grades with White's Messiah and Cool. Zatai coming in at the 4th place there was thought to kind of ascend when those players retired or were put on injury lists. Unfortunately stumbled, but starting to come back into form. Now we're looking at Kid here. Kid is known for his Trinity Force AD carries. Of course, his last 2 played champions there are Twitch, but I really feel like Kid is the most consistent backbone for Invictus Gaming here. And of course, next time we're going to swing over and look at my other favorite support. This is Kitties. Kitties is a Thresh player. Obviously, he can pull out Leona, he can pull out other supports. Thresh, Nami coming up in his last 2 played. You cannot give him Thresh. there have been games where he has single-handedly 1v1 Uzi with a thresh hook. So they're absolutely deadly. His proficiency on that champion cannot be matched.
To be honest, he's probably the easiest player on this team to really be able to ban out. The rest of Invictus has a very deep champion pool. You mentioned Zatai. This guy plays everything, and you saw him that last week pulling out a Renekton mid to counter out a Yasuo. An incredible, innovative move there.
Definitely. Zatai's champion pool cannot be banned out. I swear that guy has a random button, and like it comes time for champion select, and he just slams his hand down and he rolls with whatever goes. Now we see EDG stats on the score. I feel like if there is an answer to Korea, it is in the form of EDG. They are the superstars of China right now, the hand-picked, handcrafted team, and we're going to go ahead with their lineup. Starting on the support role is going to be FZZF. I love FZZF. We can call him Curly. Number one played pick from last split was the Morgana support. I love his Alistar. I fell in love with him when I watched him play Alistar next to him, like you were talking about. I'm going to lead you in with the Nami, the best AD carry, quote-unquote, in the world.
Used to play on positive energy, definitely a big impact on that team. Does Lucian Twitch, you know, the standard meta stuff, but you've also seen recently his games have included Kog'Maw as well. He also pioneered that Ghostblade build on Lucian that we always see, the early brutalizer that comes into that.
And like you were talking about, kind of the dark horse for EDG here is now Yu. Yu has been primarily on those neutral picks. You do see the two Lulus there, played a lot of Ziggs. He has stated publicly that he prefers to play Assassins, like you said, and Nidalee. So as EDG gets more comfortable in their position, they don't have to rely so heavily on the Ziggs pick to stall out the game to allow them to kind of refocus. We'll see if Yu's able to pull out those other picks. Clearlove in the jungle, formerly of World Elite, formerly of Rising Stars, teammate to FZZF there. Again, we talked a lot about his jungle style and kind of what made him who he is, a very strong contender for one of the top junglers in China. And then finally, Kelsey's favorite, Koro here in the top lane, considered the epitome of the utility, bruiser style top laner. He's very good in team fights. He's very aware of his surroundings. He likes to create zones for his AD carry. He's very much a team player.
He's very consistent too. Definitely always puts up a big performance, and especially if you get him on Trundle. I believe he has the highest win rate of anybody on his team for a single champion on that Trundle pickup. Yep.
The joke is that if they play Trundle against IG automatically loses, which IG doesn't have a great track record against EDG as it stands anyway.
7 is a little bit troubling, but you know, and this is mostly because it's an all-time record. Edward Gaming is incredibly new, and you talked about being a hand-picked team. They've really only come into existence since the start of Season 4. This is a team that, you know, you can almost say literally came out of nowhere, was picked up out of a whole lot of very talented players from a variety of teams, some LPL, some LSPL, and it's amazing how far they've been able to come in just a short time.
Yeah, and you did say new team, but relatively old players. You talked about Nami, his previous experience with Positive Energy there with Sika, which is funny because Positive Energy was considered, I'm going to say mediocre. It was considered kind of a mediocre team, but Nami and Sika hard carried them to a, I believe it was a 2013 victory. I'd have to check my notes on that. He carried them to a first place, and that's kind of when Nami really solidified his stance in the world. He saw Wei Zhao play, and he was like, you know what, I can beat that guy, I can be better than that guy, and I'm going to. And now, pretty even statement there. Nami dominating performance.
I'm interested to see what these picks come out to be. This is going to be a really, I think, of all the Chinese teams, this is going to be the matchup where the pick bans are really going to be considered carefully. You can just tell by the concentration on their faces. They're really thinking about a lot of what they want to deal with. Again, you can't really ban out a lot of Invictus Gaming. That Thresh is kind of a must-pick or ban. Each team's going to get a chance to start on blue, so they'll get that first pick opportunity. But what do you think IG, since they're focusing on them on the camera right now, what do you think IG is really going to try to focus on EDG's side as far as the bans go?
A lot of bans actually come out into the mid lane typically. Like LeBlanc, Cassidy bans, of course, come out. I feel like China as a region bans to the jungle or the mid laner. It's very hard to ban out either of these teams, though, just because their champion pools are very complex. If they want to target specifics, I think Clearlove would be the easiest target for them if they wanted to go that route. Although
get rid of that, Evelyn.
Yeah, get rid of Eve was his most played champion last game. He's been picking up Lee Sin a little bit more just because the region, we talked about last time how Lee Sin has really made a resurgence in China due to the Lee Sin players kind of coming into the jungle. Koreans, Allen, and LSPL players, all that play Lee Sin now in the LPL, so of course his numbers are spiking. I mean,
Yeah,
Kha'Zix, I wouldn't be surprised to see banned, although Kha'Zix, this is like the nerfed Kha'Zix, but we still seen him jungled yesterday.
Now, you probably got to give Insec a little bit of credit for that one, too.
I think
just
it's going to
showing
be
that it definitely can still be done.
Kassadin, Yasuo, LeBlanc, Kha'Zix, Braum, and Thresh bans.
Okay, I'm going to keep a tally here. I want to see how many you exactly get right, because your predictions are spookily accurate, just in general. Let's see what they end up going with as they're hyping the little pregame as we go to the next one. But I think that you got to look at the AD carry matchup, too, because although Name gets a huge ton of love and a huge, well-deserved props for being just such a fantastic AD carry, Kid has a really, really solid team around him, and I feel like there's a little less pressure on him to kind of carry. Is that kind of just in my mind, or do you think that's a fair point?
It's hard to say because I feel like there are very strong... I feel like both these teams have really strong elements to them. Invictus Gaming's #1 drawback is consistency. And as far as like the team as a whole, Kid is the most consistent player on Invictus Gaming. Like, literally, they are the worst team and the best team in LPL at the exact same time. It's almost kind of like a CLG story. Like, they'll go up against the best team. They unseeded OMG in the playoffs. Obviously, the fourth... Like, the story of how they even got into the playoffs, obviously, a little bit of technical issues, so I can go... Like, I wish Hollywood would make a movie about this. You have to think about this. Invictus Gaming stumbled out of the gate 2013 or 2014 spring split. They just weren't doing very well. They started to pick it up on the last side of the split. LGD was the third place, pretty solid until the Riven patch nerfs came in, and then they took kind of like a nosedive. And so now it's tied. LGD, IG, who's going to get that fourth place spot to go into the playoffs here? Literally the very last set of games. LGD faces the worst team in LPL, last ranking team, Positive Energy. Invictus Gaming faces the #1 seed, OMG. If LGD 2-0 is Positive Energy, they take the fourth place spot. If Invictus Gaming, if they split it, Invictus Gaming has to take a game off of OMG. They end up taking, like, LGD goes first, they lose to Positive Energy. Invictus Gaming comes back, they split the game, and they scrape in on the fourth place seat, and then go on to the playoffs to make the upset and kick OMG out and take the second place of the spring split. So it was fantastic. I was like, yes, Invictus Gaming. But we are into the picks and bans. I did not call the Kale ban, although I should have. But right now I'm, what,
hey,
4 for 6?
Yeah, no, you're doing pretty solid so far. So definitely spent a lot of effort on that mid lane, banning at LeBlanc as well. And the Kale one, I think that's just a very general ban. It's a strong carrying mid or top. I mean, we've actually seen it more commonly in the top lane, but it's not particularly targeted. They just want to make sure that that's not something they have to deal with on the side of IG.
Who else did I say? I think I said Thresh and...
You might have said Braum.
It was Kha'Zix. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Braum and Kha'Zix. Oh, but there's the Ziggs bans. Of course, we talked about how much he plays Ziggs. Oh, the Lulu ban is also still a big priority here. Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is if they do end up banning Lulu, then this almost creates one of those situations. Oh, nope, there's the Thresh ban. So
I was 4 for 6.
I'm not going to give it to Kitties. Nicely done. I believe that is... I'm not going to assign it a letter grade, but it's pretty close to an A.
Can I get a B?
You get a B+.
And with that, it is going to be that Lulu pickup, obviously. I mean, it could go mid, it could go top. We've seen frequently a lot of Lulu tops, although I wouldn't be surprised to see Zitai pick that up into the mid lane. Lulu is very strong in the Chinese scene because the AD carries are so strong. People ask, why is Lulu played so much in LPL? Like, obviously, Lulu internationally has kind of taken a little bit of a dip. Still shows up now and then, but in China specifically, utility mages are incredibly potent because they make that AD carry powerful. On the other side, EDG immediately pick up that Braum, immediately pick up the Jax.
Yeah, and this is just showing that they want to have a pretty tanky front line, a pretty strong later game carry, and they can pair it with whatever they want. Now, this would be a really interesting move. If IG locks in Twitch for Kid, and this is definitely one of his more favorite champions, they're going to pick up Nami as well. That leaves Lucian on the table, but Nami doesn't want it.
Name is hovering between a couple of different options here. Did show that Kog'Maw has played it. He did not win in the game that he played, but if you haven't seen it, I'm trying to remember if it was OMG that he faced or World Elite. But it was a fantastic team fight from, from EDG.
Seems to be favoring that Corki pickup as well.
Ooh.
And this would be, oh, he locks it in. This is going to be a really interesting move. We've actually seen this in, I think we've seen this in NALCS, this combination of Braum and Corki start to take off as Triforce AD carries are starting to become a little bit more popular, especially thanks to the 410 patch incoming.
And with that Gragas hovered over, that is going to be Youngsu taking his Gragas again into the top lane. So that is the mid Lulu on Zatai.
One of those things that Youngsu likes to do, that top lane Gragas.
I wasn't entirely impressed with Youngsu's Gragas. He didn't win lane either game, and I feel like he's a little bit hesitant to utilize his casks. I don't know if this is an issue of communication, like obviously still being relatively new with the team. But we'll see if he could turn it around. Again, this will be his third game in LPL playing Gragas in a row. Obviously showing proficiency on that champion, but teams are not impressed either because they're not wasting a ban on it.
Not really considering who they want to lock in last. I actually maybe expected the Twisted Fate, but at the end of the day, they decided to go for Syndra on you. And, well, U is for Unstoppable. We'll see if he's able to do it see if he's proving to be unstoppable this time, but into a Lulu pick. That is long range versus shorter range.
Well, the other issue is that you're taking the highest sustained damage mid champion and you're placing them. I mean, she effectively is also an assassin just because of the damage that she outputs and how quickly she can do it against the anti-assassin Lulu. Obviously has the wild growth to directly counter that, taking the ignite. So I mean, he has the tools on his kit to make someone disappear, but I don't know if he'll be able to do that to Lulu.
This is it's kind of an interesting pickup. I like the balance of EDG's team. They have a lot of late game and they have a lot of early game. They're going to hit kind of a wonky mid unless they can start getting the ball rolling on some kills. But the fact that they've opted for the Lee Sin jungle definitely says they want to start making early roam plays. And, well, EDG owns definitely the positive record on IG. So if they know one thing or two things or three things perhaps about beating Invictus Gaming, so we'll see if they can manage to pull it off again. There's always that wild card, though. You mentioned you haven't really been impressed with Youngsu's performance on top lane Gragas, but I'll have to give it to you. The man is consistent. He certainly knows what he likes. He likes what he knows.
He likes his drink. I'm more curious to watch Zatai this split. Haven't seen a lot of him. Again, we saw that Renekton mid, not quite my favorite pick that he's ever made, but it did end up working out for them because they 2-0'd. I just feel like eyes are kind of on him. With PDD's departure, that's obviously a big star player lost from Invictus Gaming. And like I said, White's, Cool, and Masai were kind of the top three mid laners for China for the longest time. Zatai was kind of mentioned in the end of that breath as kind of the fourth place seed. White's Messiah retired, Cool stepped down, is obviously back now from his eye injury. It was kind of up to Zatai to step forward, to be the mid laner that everyone had kind of hyped him up to be. And he stumbled, he choked, he tripped. He started to come back into form at the end of last split and kind of into the beginning of this one, but I feel like, again, PDD's not there, Kid has been incredibly consistent, eyes are on Zatai to kind of nut up or shut up.
Well, we'll see if he manages to pull it off this time, and you know, Zatai does quite a lot of good things, and they've definitely stuck him on a utility-focused role this time, but I think he's going to have a pretty solid lane matchup if they do go into the lane itself normal. I don't know, though. The way that the EDG has lined this one up, it makes me think there's going to be some definite level 1 shenanigans.
Well, the nice thing about Lulu is she's such a fantastic bridge from mid-game into late game, and obviously with the pickup of that Twitch for Kid, that's what they're looking at. Just get Twitch from mid-game into the late game, let him have that power spike, and let Zatai take care of the rest. It's okay, baby. He's here.
Absolutely. I'll be relying on that one heavily. But here we go, presenting to you in the wide, full screen of our wonderful LPL English cast, IG, EDG. The rematch commences. It is going to be an explosive game, explosive 2 set of games, and here we go, hiding out for the early invade. Youngsu, he's going to be dancing up in that bush. Apparently the bush is big enough for both him and Zatai, but Yordles don't take a lot of space.
Obviously Jarvan favoring the, Illusion favoring the sweeper here, has the ability to check brushes with his flag. We see this a lot of junglers will pick up sweeper when they take someone like Elise, someone like Lee Sin, someone like Jarvan. Not so much on Lee Sin, I guess he can go either way because of his safeguard utility with the ward, but anytime a jungler has a way of face checking a bush, they like to pick up that sweeper for early aggression.
And actually the only sweeper in the game, of course, so I think this is a pretty good pickup in general, although Lee Sin is clearly the exception to that one. Speaking of clearly, Clear Love wants to put a little bit out of poke, but these are two teams that clearly are not afraid of one another. Spamming the laugh. Here, guys, here's a free 10 gold with the ward.
And we talked about, again, how Clearlove isn't necessarily super well known for being a Lee Sin player, but is definitely picking it up as Lee Sin has gotten ever so popular in China. It's early, can you tell?
You know, even so, that still makes phonetic sense. I'm not going to critique your English. Anyways, FCZF on this Braum pickup, it'll be really interesting to see how this bot lane combo does, because, again, Braum has been a mixed bag for pros all around the world right now. They're still trying to quite figure out where he fits in, but he does bring a huge team fighting presence in. Speaking of team fighting, there's a level 1 red buff steal that's going down, and it's not even going to be contested at all. They should discover that they already know it's happening, so Kitty's pinging to make this happen, and we do have a 2v1 lane swap going on. So far, it's just going to be 2v0, really, as both the ADCs and supports on either team going to be free farming up in the bot side. Both teams mirroring each other very fluidly at the start of this game.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not even a red buff steal at this point, just because, again, we've talked about how the map pressure really splits up, although Clearlove looking for a very early gank on Zatai. Korra is also waiting in the wings.
Yep, they're going for this one. Oh, there's a stun off. They're going to flash forward, commit a whole lot to it. They should be able to get him here. He's going to burn his flash and get away. Oh, my goodness. Zatai with the clutch over the wall saves his own life, and they spent so many summoners to get him. Whoa, well played.
It was a fantastic placement and flash from Zatai. Unfortunately, did have to burn the flash there, so still successful gank from Korra and Clearlove. Got something for their trouble. A little bit behind on the jungle farm, but not going to be too displeased with that, especially with a long-range hard CC on that Cinder lane. Doesn't have the Ignite anymore, but that Ignite will come up far before the flash does.
Yep, that is going to leave him a little bit more vulnerable, but Lulu is definitely one of those safe laners, and the fact that they attempted to gank so early onto that lane, I mean, it's the only even lane, so there really wasn't anywhere else they could have done it, but you can just tell that EDG out for blood this game. They do not want to waste a moment that they could be spending ganking Koro and Clearlove. The Jungle Buddy system going down, and, well, they're looking to go down to this bot lane to apply more pressure, and this could be a really early Dragon for them. Remember, the team that controls the bot side of the map tends to have a pretty good shot at Dragon as well, but there is a Buddy system roaming into this bot side in the form of both Illusion and Yongsu, and here they go, contesting the golems. They're actually just going to throw a barrel and say, hey, get out of here, those are ours. Smited away by Illusion.
They have to be very careful, though. Definitely at a numbers disadvantage. Illusion's going to go in.
Oh, my goodness. He's going way far. Says, hey, I can get into tower range. Forcing the chase on. Koro's going to jump on him. Nice flash away by Illusion, but he's getting locked up under tower all the same. Committing so much to this. Clearlove goes low. FCZF goes low. Name taking tower shots by the dozens, but they do get the kill and get out alive. I think that was a little overconfident.
Even so unfortunate was the fact that that kill literally happened at the 4-minute mark, so the full 400 gold goes over in favor to Name, as well as the double buffs. I don't know which is worse right now, the fact that the best AD carry in the world just got first blood at the 4-minute mark, or the fact that he got the double buffs.
Oh, I thought you were an IG fan. You sound really happy about this.
I'm so confused by that dive. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, though, Zatai
and you are going to trade blows, but it does look like you getting the better of him. And we do have a pause. What I wanted to talk about, though, is the one thing that was not too bad about all of that was the fact that for the longest time, Kid has been getting a pretty solid amount of farm. Unfortunately, it's been matched by Name, and this just shows you how strong of an AD carry Name really is. He can pull all of that stuff off, do these crazy dives, tank a bunch of tower shots, somehow not die, and still keep up in farm to a free farming Kid. I mean, and Kid is not a slouch of an AD carry. He's a very talented player. It's just incredible how much Name is able to do all at once. He makes it look so easy.
Definitely showing why he has that reputation of being the best AD carry in the world there. And again, the double buffs on him right now so early into this game. Like, not that it's going to give him like a huge advantage just because they are in kind of a 2v0. It's not like the double buffs are going to help him defeat the tower or defeat the creeps more effectively, but the fact that Illusion doesn't have his double buff. Jarvan isn't necessarily the most blue-dependent jungler, but there are far less blue-dependent junglers than him, like Lee Sin.
Yeah, so there's always the option created. I think this is another reason that they like Lee Sin so much in regions that focus so heavily on a lot of early game roams and craziness like China. The fact that Lee Sin doesn't have a really, really hard set jungle path, especially when all these crazy fights break out, he just has the option to literally pop up anywhere and the mobility to execute it too.
Yes, obviously his mobility coming into big play. I like that you brought up that point. The roam style very much suits him. Very early kill potential with Lee Sin. Has fantastic mobility. Doesn't need a lot of buffs to get him going off the ground, so a very safe jungle pick in the current meta.
And that's, of course, why we're seeing a lot of play from him. Of course, you also mentioned the lots of influx of predominantly Lee Sin players. We talked about Insect coming in and joining Starhorn. We have been seeing, you know, the rise of players like Alan as well. Excuse me, Drug now.
Love
and,
ANG.
I know that was actually his.
Excuse
and love
me.
ANG.
ANJ.
ANJ something. Wow, you got me doing it now.
I always want to say G, it's J. Love ANJ.
So, going forward in this game, just with the way things have been shaking out, it does seem like Invictus Gaming does have a fairly solid strategy in mind, but they just have been making these really strange calls. It's like they didn't expect the lane swap.
I mean, they had to expect the lane swap. It's pretty much been consistent every single time. I believe the only team that hasn't done a 2v or 2v0 was Young Glory in Starhorn's game. Again, I have no idea why they decided to try to toe-to-toe with UZI, but they did. It didn't work out for them. Starhorn took away the 2-0, but this is pretty much the standard jungle path right now. I'm not quite sure what Illusion was thinking. Maybe he was gambling that EDG wouldn't be able to juggle the tower aggro effectively enough, and of course we did see Name almost went down there, but definitely wasn't on the same communication page as Yongsu, as Yongsu gave him 0 backup on that tower.
And, you know, he went forward kind of, it almost seemed like without really telling his lane, you know, his friend that he was going to go in on that, and it was like he was relying on the tower to maybe tank the shots, but a really good job at shuffling the aggro, and this is what you can do when you have 4 people diving a bot turret. Or I guess it was sort of a weird reverse dive because Illusion went in and was like, okay, I'm going to force somebody to die by jumping on me, but the rest of EDG were just like, no, we're just going to kite around this turret, and it was very, very strange and kind of uncharacteristic of them.
I feel like with that dive, IG effectively lost the entire early game. When your jungler loses double buffs that early, he's pretty much crippled back to his jungle for an extensive amount of time. I mean, he can try to go and snowball himself off of kills, but you have to think the lanes that he's facing. He has a Lulu in the mid lane. He has a 2v0 in the top lane. So really the only kill potential is that mid lane there, and his mid laner doesn't have flash available to him. And when you lose all of your jungle pressure on the lanes, it effectively lets EDG do exactly what they want any time that they want. I won't be surprised that with this it might turn into a very early dragon for them, and this is not where Invictus Gaming wants to be. They need to have the early game. That's kind of what they're known for. EDG was almost kind of comically known for their late game having some of the longest average game times. Of course, over the season into the playoffs, this started to shorten dramatically as they, again, we talked about, kind of got on all cylinders, got all their pieces figured out, and really started to synergize and be the superstar team that everyone knew that they had the potential to be. But Invictus Gaming, not the greatest start to kind of how they play League of Legends.
Yeah, and a lot of that's on Illusion too. I mean, that was really a decision that he made and kind of went in on that. And it is a real problem, especially for Illusion, as his style is so gank-centric. He's so dependent on getting those good picks early, and I feel like Jarvan might be a little bit of an odd pickup for him because of that. But I think they want to try and compromise, give him a little bit of late game presence, and be able to lock up people for Kid and Kitties to be able to womp on. But yeah, doing something like that and just basically sacrificing your early game pressure, very, very strange and uncharacteristic of somebody like Illusion.
Definitely. But we are back into game.
So technical issues once again resolved, and LPL is back on. So right now, really, if he's one thing he's unstoppable at, it's definitely farming right now. Zatai has not been able to close that gap.
Definitely a major CS disadvantage there. Of course, he did have the early pressure onto his lane that forced the flash out.
Yeah, so there has been a lot of attention being paid to this part of the map anyways, but even so, this is quite a pretty big deficit, especially in a region that heavily favors farming quite a bit. And oh, we have another pause.
I feel like there's been client issues across the board today. A huge amount of pauses that happened in the first set. I hope that it doesn't happen to this set. So far, not the best start.
Just gonna draw it out. The drama will the excitement and the hype will just continue to increase and reach a fever pitch. Maybe that's what's wrong with the client. It like literally can't handle the hype. So it definitely looks like it's a problem on at least one of the client computers. So not a peripheral issue this time, at least.
Kind of let them figure out their things.
We have to have a moment of silence for the for the technical crew to get onto the scene. These guys are pretty good at solving the problems like really, really quickly. This is one of the things that impresses me about the production value. But while we are in kind of this pause scenario once again, Invictus Gaming, we talked a lot about how they have a rough early game ahead of them just because of what happened with Illusion. But what can they do to kind of resync with this? Do they try to push down the towers really quick? Do they try to group up and force fights early on? They definitely have a strong early game despite Illusion's death. They could easily collapse on this bot because it's just been so far pushed up. And although Nami is, you know, god tier AD carry, he can't really do much if the rest of the team just jumps on him.
Obviously, the pick comps coming out. Sorry, I'm just like so. I'm so frustrated with the amount of. I feel like Zatai's face is kind of like mine. He's like, it's not working, it's not going.
You're synchronized with them.
I'm in sync with my favorite team.
Yeah. I mean, this is something you don't want to have happen all the time.
This is a huge issue. You have to think, like, players get a spike going. They are all on this communication wavelength. They have their plan of the game, the plan of their attack, and it gets completely interrupted by issues like this.
Yeah, it looks like it comes down to Zatai's mouse, and maybe they need more of those cool Logitech ones that we keep seeing them take apart and put back together in the commercials.
I'm more partial of the Razer commercial.
Whoa, I like it too. Shots fired. We're choosing sides in this war.
Team gonna go ahead and take a quick lunch break as everyone and their mother starts pulling out cans from underneath the desk.
I want to know what they're drinking because it looks like it's some kind of juice, and I'm like really thirsty right now.
Oh, but yes, we're finally getting back into it.
Oh, here we go. Okay. So up in the top lane, Kid and Kitties have been able to push Koro away pretty effectively, but Jax doesn't really care about the early game. He's going to be able to just sit there and absorb experience, eventually get up farm, and he's like almost hoping to lose his tower. This is sort of like a Nasus scenario when it doesn't really matter because you know you'll eventually get left alone and you just have to wait.
You're exactly right.
A lot of damage though.
Best case scenario for him is if that tower does go down so he can open up a free farm lane to tie. Ooh, the flash!
Oh, it's going for it. Yu is going to jump on him, and Clear Love in the area gets him on a Sonic Wave. Doesn't even have to go in, but Yu now under the tower taking shots. Illusion keeps him there, and he lets the tower finish him off, picking himself up a kill. And that gets him a little bit more back into this game. No, he doesn't have his double buffs, and Name does, which is definitely a problem for Yangsu right now in this bot lane. But he's been able to force them away.
That was exactly what Illusion needs, and also to his credit, does have now a free farm lane opened up to him. So level 5 to level 4 on Clear Love there. You know Illusion's loving this free CS.
The pause was definitely nicer to Invictus, it seemed, even though they were definitely a little frustrated by it. So FZZF blocking up the explosive cask, or trying to, or they're not the barrel roll. That's what I like to call it. And Clear Love's coming down for Yangsu now. Just going to scare him off the tower. This one will easily fall, and it should be the first tower of the game to EG. Actually, they're just letting it deny, actually, which is a really good idea, just because you want to keep Yangsu starved out and keep him as ineffective as Jax is right now. But Yu's chasing Zatai in the mid lane. He's going to put a Glare Lance
he
back
has to
on
be
him help
very careful.
Whoa, yeah, he ran right into one of those balls, but he did chase Syndra out of lane. So for the moment, Zatai has a bit of free farm and a bit of breathing space to try and catch back up on this one, but he has to avoid those balls. Superior range on Syndra means it's only a matter of time. And here comes the gank squad, Clear Love and FZZF coming up around the side. Can they get a pick set onto him? He does have flash available as well as Ignite should he turn it around, but he's not got 6 yet, no wild growth. Yu is trying to make a move. Here they come. He has nowhere to go but the side. They're going to land everything onto him. Clear Love forcing a flash out of him. Illusion's in the area now, but he's not giving up. Well, I guess he is. There's a teleport in from Yangsu around the side. Looks like it might be the first fight of the game. Clear Love taken pretty low, but he's able to get out. FCZF going to burn his flash. Dash away as well. Yangsu is chasing. Can he get the kill off? He got stunned up for just a minute. Flashing for Kitty. They're going to catch him on a bubble. Down goes FCZF, but Kitty's gets ignited in the process. Jarvan going to come in, hits 6 with the Cataclysm, gets the kill as well. It is 2 for none so far. Kitty survives, and Invictus Gaming picking up a big lead to put them right now almost dead even in farm. It's a 500 gold differential.
The amount of flashes that were burned right there, everyone and their mother getting involved in that team fight, that ARAM really in the mid lane. Unfortunately, it doesn't really pan out in any swing of advantage for either team. Does even up the gold lead, but no objective taken, no dragon challenge, so everyone's going to return to normal with a lot less summoners available.
And normal lane's actually starting to reset after all of that, as I think Kid and Kitties realize they can probably do a little bit more on the spot side. You mentioned Dragon being something that neither team was able to take, and that's just mostly because they've kept each other in check so far. Youngsu and Koro going to duel it out, and actually it's Youngsu getting the better of Koro right now, just a little bit, despite the fact that he is yet to hit 6. Of course, Gragas much more of a utility mage slash kind of bruiser at this point, actually going for that Catalyst as well.
It is going to be an AP Gragas. I believe the first time that we really saw top Gragas kind of come to the scene, it was very much a bruiser, almost an AD bruiser sometimes. But Youngsu, if he follows tradition like he did last time, it is going to be a straight AP Gragas. So the burst damage will be available there, obviously utilizing the lower CDR on Cask to have another utility disengage for his team.
Yeah, that is what is on Cask for Youngsu. And down in this bot lane, Name and Kid are going to trade each other a couple of pokes. Name, of course, no surprises, has a bit better of the farming, working up to his Bloodthirster right now. Once again, we're still on patch 4.9. Clearlove looking to come around the side, trying to set up a pick on a Kid. He's actually way out of position right now. Fizzif going to try to get him locked up. Kitty's trying to help him out. Very close, but he will get away with the ambush. Name now not giving up on this one, chasing him all the way into his jungle. Gonna Valkyrie in, and there is Kitty's setting up the bait. Illusion gonna turn on to Name. There is the big hit, there is the big kill, and they even caught Fizzif for this one. Illusion making big plays for his team, and it goes over. Another kill for Jarvan, 4-1 on this game as Illusion sets it up. Clearlove not clearly in position to make this happen, and they're gonna turn down for this tower.
Makes the mistake of utilizing Valkyrie to go aggressive, burns his flash when Jarvan comes down. Illusion does a fantastic job waiting for the Catalyst. Great punishment there on Name to use a reposition offensively like that instead of offensively, way too deep there. It doesn't look like they'll get the tower, although still pushing onto it, so we'll see if it goes down to a global objective, but they do not take the dragon, so a little bit of a bright spot there for EDG.
Yeah, and it almost seems like it's a bit of a mistake. This is probably the longest we've seen without a dragon really even being contested by either team. A lot of the Chinese teams, they don't just love the Baron, they love the dragon as well. Like to pick this one up as early as they possibly can. And really surprising. I think it's really kind of been forced, though.
A lot of early aggression, definitely. That was a little bit more favor inside of Illusion, kind of returning back to form there. We'll see if he's able to stick with it and scale into late game as effectively as he needs to. Meanwhile, in this top lane, I mean, Youngsu can't really do anything to Koro here on his Jax. Does have a CS lead, but doesn't really mean anything. Jax is going to be Jax no matter what, and if you can't slow him down, it's just going to be that much sooner.
Yeah, I think they've kind of given up for the time being on just trying to punish Koro too much, as they just want to contest this bot lane as hard. I mean, they're down one tower. It's not a huge deal, but they don't have a whole lot to fall back on. And this is a dangerous situation for IG because there's just so many weapons on the side of Edward Gaming, and they really need to come up with an answer before the timer really ticks out. Name and Fizzif pushing on opposed for the time being down on this bot, as Kid is going to try and answer that one. Youngsu gonna back to base. Koro clearing out a couple of wards in the top, and it looks like there's a collapse about to happen, but Name and Fizzif, well, they're gonna just scout this one out. It looks like they're going for the dragon, or at least to start something up.
So they do have to push onto the bot lane, so they have eyes of where Kid and Kitties are, which gives them a pretty free reign of this dragon. However, stalling it out here, it's pretty obvious their intentions. I wouldn't be surprised to see EDG look for a challenge, but it looks like they're just going to rotate into this mid lane and try to find another objective. Zatai gets stunned up.
There's the stun coming up. The Braum ultimate comes out, but it misses as the flash was just on point. There is the disengage out of Kitties, who I think is learning the Nami strategy that we were all hoping for. Zatai gets away, spends a lot of stuff to do it, though. One ult and one flash down. Mid-tower safe for now, but the rest of IG is on this tower. Gonna leave Koro to his own devices up in the top for the time being, but they could really push forward on this one. A lot of ults down.
Definitely, but with Youngsu making that rotation over, the wave clear is available to them, so EDG not going to get anything out of this. I like this flash from Zatai. It actually made the Braum ult completely whiff, so yes, he did expend his wild growth and his flash, but I feel like EDG sacrificed a lot more to make nothing happen.
He's been an escape artist this game. Zatai has been focused so hard by this Edward Gaming team, and he's managed to hold them to 1 kill on him. I mean, this is really impressive from Zatai. I'm just kind of in awe at his mechanical skill to adapt to those ganks really quickly.
The proficiency of the Chinese players and the reaction time can never be understated. They are fantastic mechanical players, which is why I think importing Koreans is not quite the correct answer.
Well, it certainly helps them learn a little bit more of the strategic thing. I think I would like to see some Korean, like, not straight up coaches, but at least like some analysts coming in as well. And I think that's something that's happening behind the scenes we're not as aware of. But meanwhile, back to the game, you see a lot of focus being settled towards this bot side. Is FCZF going to come around the side? So far, Braum not been extremely effective. He's only got 2 deaths. He has blocked a lot out for Name. And, well, Kid going to turn on after the phosphorus bomb lands on him as well. Name trying to poke him out. Kid looking to make an aggressive move. He's got the ambush in. Here's Illusion around the side. Going to go in on Name very hard, but Fizz is blocking everything out. The exhaust comes down. The Nami bubble misses. They can push for this tower as soon as the waves clear, though. Nicely done to save the flash and actually Valkyrie out of the Jarvan pit. Well played by Name.
I think the more impressive thing actually was the Braum W out of the Cataclysm pit there.
Yeah, that was also a nice follow-up, too. You know, you can't really catch everybody. This is the mobility that people want. Now here, finally, the first dragon being taken by IG. FCZF trying to get something down onto Kid. And oh, my goodness, Kitties gets lit up. And they turn on to FCZF, but they lose Kitties in the process. Keeping people in the pit. Kid really can't do much around the side. Illusion gonna get locked up, and it looks like Kid and Zatai are gonna be on the run trying to get out of there. Whoa, Kid gets locked up again, and they're turning onto him. I don't think he can get away from this one. Zatai says, I'm out of here. It's a 3 trade for none. They do get the dragon, but IG gets blown up after that.
They get the dragon, but at what cost? It looks like EDG isn't going to try to translate this into a tower, although we do see FCZF looking bot lane, clearing out those pink wards. Ooh, a teleport going down.
Up Koro, yeah, like as soon as he gets back, but the tower almost falls. Oh, he can't finish it off before he comes back. And Youngsu, you got to get out of there. He's going to spend his explosive cast and then dash away, but Koro's not done yet. Flash is burned on both sides. Koro's slowed down. He cannot quite finish this one up. Youngsu is racing back to his own tower. The leap strike, he's going to get it. Koro on the follow-up, burns everything. But so does Youngsu, and he's up a kill.
That almost looked so good for Youngsu. I love the barrel with the belly bop at the same time to apply the slow to Koro. Almost got away with it, unfortunately, that ward jump. But Kitty's looking for redemption.
Yep, and Koro knows this. He's going to go for this tower and just try to put some hurt onto it. Actually, he's just going to run straight through. And Koro on the chase now. The Great Escape commences. They're not giving up on this one. He's going to go for the execute.
Has to be careful. He's very tanky.
Darn it, I don't want to have a huge health pool, and there's the execution. So there we go. They do manage to get that one out at the very least, and in the meanwhile, Lee Sin took a tower. We saw Clear Love picking that one up around the side. Kid now is caught. Clear Love and FCZF, they're putting a whole bunch of hurt onto him. Name bringing up the rear, and they're trying to feed it over to him, but it's Clear Love that secures it at the end. And all of a sudden, EDG on the chase down from everybody. They've managed to out-rotate Invictus Gaming on these sides, and they're up still a nice chunk of change. It's still anybody's game, but they have got to get better at protecting these objectives and protecting the carries.
And this is the new EDG that we were kind of talking about previously in the split when it first started. EDG was very much about the late game, the team fighting, the stalling. This EDG, again, all cylinders firing, getting together, covering their flanks, making sure that they're invading together, and like you said, making the correct rotations and being where they need to be.
Yeah, they've been doing a fantastic job of it so far. And IG, they don't look completely lost, really. They're just having to be on the reactive end of a lot of things, picking up revenge kills, trying to get out of bad situations. Zatai has been an escape artist, but you can't escape all game. Once these guys start getting pretty big, it gets really difficult. Lee Sin might fall off later in the game, but for now he's 3-1-3, doing an excellent job of getting where he needs to and pushing down the objectives. They're up one tower. Well, Clear Love and Illusion going to trade. And Clear Love in a rough spot, but he is going to be able to safeguard away over to you. Illusion, though, I have been very impressed by his redemption. After that early game dive that was just a suicide, he has picked up the pace phenomenally, making a nearly global presence on a champion that well, doesn't have a global anything, really.
I actually really like the synergy between Jarvan and Twitch. We saw this in the CLG game on NALCS. It effectively groups the team, although we see Name. No, he's like, maybe I don't want to 1v1 the Twitch. It effectively groups up the enemy team inside the Cataclysm. For the Twitch rat-a-tat-tat, it has a slight cone on it, even though it's technically a straight line, so fantastic there. And it either forces them, you're going to sit inside Twitch ult and fight me in the cage, or you're going to have to burn every single reposition or flash that you have, which technically, even if they get out of the Cataclysm, I feel is a win-win either way.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice pick setup that they've worked on, and clearly you can see Illusion that he's pretty comfortable on this champion as well, and he's building him kind of this bruisery, damagey type. Whoop, Young's dash in. It's a little bit over aggressive, and Clearlove waiting for the kickback. He doesn't quite want to spend it, but he's taking a whole lot of damage. The teleport now is coming in from Youngsu. He's going to dash onto Illusion, or sorry, it was Koro, and they turn around and they trade junglers for the time being. I think they'll be happy with that one, or just say, oh, we don't want to take any more of this. So everything resets, no junglers involved, and actually Clearlove seemed to freeze up there for a second.
A lot of ults were expended, though, in that fight. Big ult is going to be used, Syndra ult down, so if IG is going to look for something, a lot of power not there, but unfortunately everyone going to just back off, go back to their jungle, go back to their lanes.
Yep, all right, guys, we had a good team fight. Let's go back to the normal, but here Kid's going to find Name out. Here's the one-on-one. Does he want to take it? Yes, he does. He turns onto him. Kid is getting blown up, though. Name turning around. The Blade of the Rune King proving extremely effective, and Kiddies to the rescue. Chasing all over. Name is going to preemptively flash away from that one, and this is definitely going to be a tower should Kid and Kiddies want to take it, but I'm not sure just yet. They're definitely pushing the wave, but FZZF is there on the case.
Oh, it's theirs. That tower has, like, negative health.
Yep, and Name not able to contest this one, but he did a fantastic job of trying to burst Kid down. It's just so hard to do on Twitch. I bet he's happy about the 410 patch coming up.
Kid actually misplayed that mechanically a little bit. You saw he used his stealth to give him the movement speed passive to try to reposition his rat-a-tat-tat. He was aiming for the creep waves and trying to line up so that he could hit Name with the most distant proc of his ult by utilizing the creeps and shooting in a straight line. Unfortunately, he didn't time his angle correctly when he came out of stealth, and he shot it off into the wall that would have killed Name, and then quickly corrected himself, but he was too far gone by then, so very close call.
Yeah, and to be honest, Name might have still gotten that kill had Kiddies not shown up and popped a heal.
Oh, but Koro!
Koro cancels the ties back, and he might have bitten off more than he could chew here, though. Gets locked up, burns a flash. There's the Jarvan going to leap away onto a convenient ward, but Illusion's going to poke him in the eye, or the back of the head, rather, and they get the kill. And Dragon just up. Good timing, but there's another engage. Teleport coming in. Youngsu wants to join the fight. Yu's taken low. Illusion chasing him away. This is going to be a big Dragon fight coming up, but a lot of people are low, especially on the side of Edward Gaming.
Losing Jax is a huge turn for them there. He doesn't have the teleport available, so there's no way that Koro's going to be in time to contest this dragon. So it looks like EDG is going to have to give away another free objective.
Yeah, they will take a blue buff as a consolation, but it's their own. So unfortunately, Koro not being there made it very difficult to contest that. Although you could tell Name was not going to go away without a fight, like a really annoying B or something. He was just kind of like poking around and making sure that they didn't get off completely scot-free. So Illusion and Zatai took a little bit of damage in the back there, but they healed it all back up. And IG, closing the gold gap, actually find themselves in a lead right now. Turrets dead even at 2-2, kill score just about. And Invictus Gaming, very impressive, taking advantage of the position and the over-aggression of Koro.
A big part of that is obviously Illusion right there. His performance to get back into the game after feeding those double buffs on a very questionable...
Never gonna let him off the hook for that,
I just, what are you thinking there? But
he's like 5-2 now.
I did want to...
Season 3, what am I thinking?
I wanted to point out how Clearlove is on Lee Sin, Koro on the Jax, and obviously both of those champions have abilities to utilize wards for mobility. Look at how many wards are around the map due to Jax and Lee Sin just jumping around. It's like fantastic for Chinese vision. It like forces them to place the ward.
It's like one of those brain hacks things where you're like, you want to get good at something, you have to like force yourself to do it. So you're gonna play. Maybe this is why Lee Sin's so popular.
Just to teach them how to ward.
Exactly. Invictus also doing a pretty solid job of warding, but in strange areas, they're keeping to the pits, they're keeping to the sides of the jungle, and they're definitely doing it relevant to where they want to take fights. But you can tell that a lot of these fights are very impromptu based on how aggressive Edward Gaming wants to go. IG seems to be playing a reactive game, a very good reactive game, but they're letting Edward Gaming make the first move 90% of the time.
It's like you said, it's very much working out for IG's favor, though. I feel like these cataclysms from Illusion, anytime he's involved on these fights, have been pretty on point. Again, 6-3-1 right now, the most fed member on his team, which frankly is not what you want. You need to get that gold onto Twitch. Jarvan is not going to carry you late game.
Yeah, they definitely need to get him set up with a couple of kills at this point. And it's just unfortunate that Illusion has been kind of on the mop-up. He just has a lot of abilities to pick kills on people running away. And in a lot of those situations, Kid just hasn't been in a position to really try and take it. Nevertheless, he stayed pretty close to even with Name in farm and items, and that is impressive in and of itself.
A little bit of a lull in the game here as the teams kind of go back to their jungles, farming up their creep waves. Speaking of farm, Koro on that Jax now does have a 10 CS lead, has the Blade of the Rune King available to him. Again, we talk about how Youngsu doing a good job kind of getting involved with his team, but he's doing nothing to slow down this Jax. This is going to be a very scary Koro into the late game.
They gotta be careful, although it'll be compensated a little bit by the fact that Clearlove, who is the biggest member right now of EDG, is definitely going to fall off a little bit. And here's the vision control game being played. Whoops, Zatai getting locked up. Clearlove wants to find a fight, and so does you. He's gonna put some damage onto Zatai, but Kitty's gonna try and disengage it with a bubble that was intended for no one, but sort of a warning shot.
I think he was expecting Clearlove to follow up on the Sonic Wave, you know, Lee Syndrome, chase after.
Yeah. Well, not falling for it this time, so Clearlove did see that one coming, as they do gain a bit of map control on this side and looking to chase towards Illusion. They are going to ping over to the side of the jungle near the blue buff where the rest of IG lies in wait. Youngsu are on the outside. And this is just one of those dare you to make the first move kind of situations. This fight is going to definitely shape the later stages of the game, and it's so close right now that if a decisive end does happen to it, like a 3-5 or 2-5 trade or something like that, it's going to mean a huge objective. And you can never rule out Baron. It's 24 minutes, right?
It is, but Invictus Gaming instead looking for this mid tower. Kid doing a good job sidestepping the long-range stun.
Yeah, it's very fantastic positioning. Zatai not quite so lucky, taking a few turret shots, but he is a rather big Lulu at this point, so he's not too worried about it. One other interesting point to note is that is who has the upgraded movement at this point. Everybody but Name on EDG is rocking boots too. And Nami clearly doesn't really need it because, of course, he's got his Valkyrie movement speed, and he just has very good positioning overall. But on the side of IG, you see both Lulu and Gragas. They do have movement steroids, but it's not quite as effective as the Valkyrie, and I can't help but wondering if that's something that might hurt them a little bit if they're being a little skimpy on their boots.
I think Invictus Gaming is actually has far superior mobility, even though it's Jax, Corki, Lee Sin. I mean, you have all of the movement speed boosts. You have Twitch from his stealth. Nami, of course, bringing the movement speed bonus. Lulu with the whimsy. You have the flag and drag. You have Gragas.
This time they pause just to take a drink.
I hope it's just to take a drink.
How many pauses are allowed in LPL, I wonder? Well, it's probably just, if it's technical issues, it's just something that they do up. But this time on the side of Edward Gaming, as we see the players just taking a quick break as the pause screen goes in. But game is just so dead even at this point that I think either team is just kind of standing on this precipice of, do we force a fight? Do we let them come to us? Invictus Gaming definitely seems a little more comfortable because they've been able to take slight advantages in every one of these fights that EDG has been initiating. Objective control also on the side of Invictus, even if they kind of go back and forth in the map control.
I definitely think you're right. I think Invictus Gaming has come out recently in the team fights on top, so the confidence is of course with them a little bit there as they were looking for more towers, more map pressure. They kind of have to find the team fights now, though. Obviously, EDG's composition I feel is going to scale better. I mean, you do have the Twitch on the side of Invictus Gaming, but it's pretty much all riding on Kid there and stacking a bunch of utility on him. And we talk about, again, champions that kind of can answer a fed AD carry. Koro's Jax completely untouched, uncontested. He did die once, but he's pretty much been free farming, getting free EXP. It doesn't necessarily matter how fed Kid gets. If Koro can get back to him, that's a good night, Sweet Prince.
Yeah, Jax is always an incredibly scary champion to face down the longer the game goes on. It's about 25 minutes in too, at about the time of the pause. So we're not really we're kind of at the I want to say the beginning of the end game, but not really. It's more like a late mid game kind of scenario. This is where just about every part of the map starts to open up. But we have an uncharacteristic low number of towers taken so far, so it feels like there's this artificial preserving of the lanes.
Definitely, the free farm is still very strong with these
At
teams.
least in the middle. Yeah, I mean this is something that definitely benefits EDG because they have that Jax. However, the trade-off there is that Clear Love is not going to be very effective come the later game. They're going to use him pretty much primarily for that dive-in, ward hop, kick back to try and pick somebody off. And all the squishy targets on Invictus Gaming have just been incredibly evasive there. It's really hard for Clear Love, great listen player that he is, to really pull that off on the likes of Kid or Kitties.
Just waiting for the casters to come back in.
Yeah, we're on a break, everybody. We're going to drink those awesome juice cans. So
I just feel like we should take a step back and kind of let the players organize this and come back in with the pauses.
I think that's totally fine, actually. You can take this quick break. You can see Zatai's already embracing the quick break mentality, getting a little stretch going.
但是现在网络又这么发达，有些东西自己突然间就衍生出一些新的词汇。对的，英雄联盟里就有很多。比如嘞？比如你刚才说脏他一手就是。而且有很多名词，然后现在也被我们改成了动词。套路他，套路他，我们套路他一手。今天不知道谁出了问题。
之前不是 IG 那边有点挑剔。
对。卷毛好像很淡定。是的。不知道这里说是好了吗？主要我们也看不到选手的屏幕，不知道现在是跳频到一个什么样的地步。刚才微博上有观众跟我说你们说什么30 FPS 没法玩，我一直用10 FPS 玩这个游戏的。
30以下，团战30以下，没说具体的。
对，他说他是以10 FPS 来玩这个游戏。
10 FPS 是不是？那应该是什么效果？
幻灯片吗？
那如果换一个正常的 FPS 玩，是不是突然就变成大神了？
说不定有这个可能。当然也有另外一种可能，
就是
他发现玩的不是一个游戏。
负重训练啊。
对，负重训练。但我觉得英雄联盟里的负重训练应该是带比较菜的人打，那个算负重训练，那个才是负重，真的，把必须你 carry， 对吧？打不了多长时间你就成大神了。而且最主要，你信心打起来以后，哎，就特别给力了。然后有人观众说，姿态和小孩是双胞胎吗？
啊，到现在你还分不清他们两个吗？
不是，有观众在说。
哦，我就说，他们俩已经打了很久了。
对的。
刚开始的时候好像确实有人说分不太清，但现在基本上都没有。
但是也正是因为这样的一个情况嘛，所以说 IG 双子星才会有这样一个称号，还是比较不错的一个称号。其实应该多一些这些，对吧？什么3巨头啊、双子星啊。
戴耳机了，是不是要好了？
感觉应该是 OK 了。
感觉他们好像又出点问题。
这是怎么了？
可能准备裁判说觉得好了要开始了，然后他们突然又说其实这边还是在跳。
刚才我有看他们 OB 那个反碰的画面嘛，他们那个 pin 都直接跳到600，就那种根本就没法打。这个希望大家也理解一下。
谁都不想是因为跳 pin 输了吗？
因为前2天有一次我在电一打的时候也是碰到过 pin 乱跳。对，
是有可能服务器的问题。
乱跳，但打完那局就好了。
那是刚好你被分配到的那个服务器有问题，
刚好被分配到了一个有问题的地方。
对。好，这边的话应该是 OK 的。有时候你被分配到那种很，好，这边终于开始了。
It looks like we wrapped up our pause scenario. The players have resolved all the technical issues that have been plaguing them, but I gotta wonder, Frosk. I think this game might have had more time out of it than it has in.
I was so long out of that game, I don't even remember who's playing.
I don't know. I think it's some team called Edward Gaming or Invictus or something like that.
Who's Invictus? I've never even heard of this team, but you are correct. We are back to the first set of Invictus Gaming versus EDG. IG, of course, on the blue side. EDG on that red side, coming back into 27 minutes and, you know, good chunk of change on the game timer.
It's appropriate that you're, like, redoing the intro because this game is so dead even, they might as well have just started from scratch. And at 27 minutes, no clear lead. Objectives definitely controlled a little bit better by Invictus Gaming, although there is a 3-tower lead. And a ticking time bomb in the form of Koro in the top lane. Yangsu trying to duel him out right now. And now Kitty's, he might be caught though. Oh, he's going to take some damage on the outside. FZZF tried to jump forward and land a Q on him. Can't quite make it happen. Invictus playing the defense game quite well. Dragon is up, going to be contested hotly. And EDG looking to try and take their first one of the game. Actually, Name might just try and solo it.
And unfortunately, if you actually look across the map of what's happening in that top lane, Koro and Yongsu just kind of chilling up there. Unfortunately, there's nothing Gragas can really do against Jax. I mean, he can clear the wave and he can stall out the push to make sure that he doesn't get the tower, but he's not going to kill him. And EDG actually picking up the first dragon. Well, for them.
Very nice, quick maneuver. At this point in the game, there's just so much burst available that dragons go down quickly. It becomes so hard to contest. And IG, although they've controlled it very well up until that point, they just have ceded enough map control to allow Edward Gaming to pick this one up. Got to be careful not to get caught out here. Zatai feeling very confident in his ability to push forward, but doesn't have a whole lot of backup right now. So he's got to be very careful.
I feel like this is going to get worse for Invictus Gaming. Again, you talked about the ticking time bomb Koro in the top lane. Eventually, Yangsu is not going to be able to deal with him, not going to be able to clear safely and effectively against him. And Invictus Gaming is going to have to extend more resources to deal with that Jax, and EDG is going to be looking at a numbers advantage.
Yeah, at this point, they've got better late game scaling than Invictus does. It's been a very even game all over, but it does start to feel like it's sort of a matter of time and this war of attrition begins. 1 tower advantage doesn't seem like much now, but you've got a Jax that's capable of split pushing to his heart's content and then teleporting in as soon as he is needed. Yangsu just can't quite compare to that, and he's going to have a lot of trouble as the time goes on, as Gragas just doesn't have the scaling burst that he used to, and this is something that they need on the side of Invictus Gaming to be able to melt down targets and turn things around. So right now, going to roam around the side and just gather up as much jungle experience as they can. Look for Baron to be contested in the next 5 minutes. This is, well, maybe sooner than that. Everybody's posturing in the area for the time being, looking for a fight.
Oh, excuse me, very early. But you are correct. IG very conservative with their farming here, making sure that the jungle is completely empty, using up all available resources, and very terrified to go past that river point. The wording across the board from EDG is, I wouldn't say super aggressive, but definitely starting to lean that way as they're getting more and more comfortable extending their presence into Invictus Gaming's jungle.
Yeah, and a lot of investment on the side of IG into sweeper lenses. They definitely have this vision denial game that they want to play. The problem is you can't deny vision if you can't get to the wards to clear them.
Definitely, and using very defensive pinks across the map for themselves, trying to secure their own jungle. Looks like they might be going a little bit on the aggressive here. Are spotted out by a ward.
Yep, and they don't know that they're spotted out, but now they have to as there's wards being placed down left and right. And FCZF doing a fantastic job at playing up the vision game, but the rest of the team also following suit. So here we go. Siege of the Tower continues as they're trying to take this mid one down. This is the first tier tower that still exists for EDG. Koro pushing uncontested on the bot side, going to force a reaction out of Youngsu, and he's just going to turn and look for his options. But here's the advantage. Here's the chance for IG and try and push on this Baron. It's a very crazy attempt. Whoa, illusion. Okay, no more playing around. I can't tank that anymore. Youngsu and Koro trying to trade rather in the bot side, but we all know who has the advantage there at this point in the game. 31.5 minutes. See what team makes the first move.
Look at Gragas's build right now. Youngsu has an Iceborne Gauntlet as well as a Roa. So obviously going for a Bruiser AP top. Just trying to slow down how quickly Koro will be able to go through him. Illusion utilizing his flag site to make sure that he can clear this Baron.
But they put another ward down immediately when it happens. The ward wars continue.
So frustrating when you have your pink and they just keep warding over the wall.
It's like, no, you have 100 gold. No, you have 100 gold. Oh, here comes Kid looking to make a power play. And Koro's gone.
I feel like Koro completely read that. Also, you have that really aggressive ward on the ramp.
Yeah, it's not super hard to tell when, oh, all of a sudden, where did Twitch go? Well, he's probably coming to try and pick off an isolated target. EDG once again takes control of the Baron pit. Both teams afraid to take an outright fight at this point. They know it means a lot, and the longer they wait, the bigger it means. But they're going to find Koro on the outside. He should be able to get away with a flash burn. Maybe not. Oh, he's going to get locked up in mid-leap as Kitties pulls a big pool. I mean, a bubble onto him. It is really early, isn't it? But Name's going to answer back with a shot, say, that was for Koro, the revenge. But this is a 5v4 advantage play for them. They should be able to push on this tower, not going for Baron just yet. Waves cleared very quickly, but they're still hesitant to do it. There is so much explosive potential here. But Koro, finding himself out of position, burns his flash, still goes down for it. Nicely played by Invictus Gaming as they even up the turrets.
A very big misstep by Koro right there. He effectively lost all the pressure that EDG was forcing onto the map. Unfortunately, EDG also wasn't in a position to make use of that map pressure. We talked about how with Koro doing the split push, it was all about how many resources IG was going to expend to take care of him. There was 3 resources right there, but unfortunately Koro got caught out in the river, so wasn't a wide enough gap between EDG and IG to really make anything happen.
Yeah, and it was a nice collapse going down too. Also, very well-timed placement of the bubbles. Kitties is impressing me more and more, and I think out of anyone, we talked about how Nami isn't making extremely big waves, pardon the pun, in LPL despite being really popular. I feel like Kitties is one of the few supports in the LPL that is really playing Nami the way she's meant to be played.
Yeah, I'm definitely very impressed with Kitties' Nami play, but I do think that Kitties is possibly one of the best supports in LPL. FCZF Kitties, I think, are pretty on par right there. We do see a lot of pings going down for Baron right now.
Guys, it's 5-on-5. We can do the Baron. Let's go. Come on. Youngsu leading up the back of this one. They want to make sure they control the pit. It's not even about the Baron at this point. It's about making sure that the enemy team doesn't know if you're Baroning. But Illusion takes Winter's bite to the face. Clear Love, though. He's got to be very careful. This is the point where Lee Sin effectively becomes a kicking meat shield. They do have a lot of utility in him, but he's not going to be able to pick anyone off by himself. And looks like the Baron is going to be started. Well, no, not yet. They're just clearing wards. Koro going to be able to solo this dragon, and if they realize this is happening, IG could have a chance to try and make this Baron happen, but they're not going for it. They don't realize that Koro's on this Baron, on this dragon right now. He could teleport in at any moment, of course. Not a lot of wards, though, as they're being cleared away very quickly. EDG trying to catch Nami out here. Oop, he's going to Valkyrie away. Jack's going to pick up the dragon for his team, evens the score out just about. Oh, Illusion going really hard in the paint, and he's not even going to have to back away as the rest of his team is there trying to bait a fight out. IG really wants to take this, going to resort to starting the Baron up, and if this does not get answered, they could very well pick it up, but here we go. EDG going to be going around the side. Baron disengage. Not a lot of
I
damage to the
like
tank,
the
though.
call right here from placing the pink ward because it takes longer to kill. And so right now, okay, so they're going to back off of it, but initially when he placed the pink ward, everyone was standing on the back of the pit. It's kind of saying, you know, Koro can either teleport and make this invulnerable, or if we stall this out, he can look at doing a split push and trying to take objectives underneath them. So I really like that decision right there from EDG. Obviously didn't play off of it because the team kind of repositioned to the mid pressure, but that was a pretty cheeky move. I've seen that done sometimes where teams will be like, oh, you want to clear the vision wards, and they'll drop like 5 pink wards into the pit, so it just takes forever to kill.
Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about it, too, is that it's very hit and run, guerrilla warfare style split pushing coming out of Koro, that he just sneaks up, pushes a tower, runs away, comes back to his team. You don't know where he is. He can teleport anywhere, anytime. And then he just does it again as soon as he sees him going for the Baron. And it really forces Invictus Gaming to kind of like back off just indirectly. And he also gets a tower out of it. So 4-3 once again in towers. EDG very slowly keeping one step ahead of Invictus on this war of attrition for control. Illusion throws a flag in outside the Baron pit, but he doesn't want it. Oop, Baron's not happy. He's going to take his anger out on Illusion. He'll laugh it off, though.
I'm surprised they haven't gone more aggressive with Koro's split pushing. I feel like if it came toe-to-toe with Yongsoo and Koro right now, Koro would come up on top. Obviously on a shorter lane because Yongsoo is so close to his base and it's very hard to kind of nail down a Gragas, especially a tanky Gragas with his Rod of Ages and Iceborne Gauntlet. But if Yongsoo dies to Koro in any of these 4-1 splits, bad news bears.
Illusion going for it. It's going to pop the Jarvan Bucks, and there is a offensive ult out of Nami. Clearlove going to be trying to target up here, but there's not a lot of damage coming out. Yongsoo taking extremely low, trying to find you on the outside. Here's the fight we've all been waiting for, but it's not going IG's way. Clearlove tanking up everything. Koro in there. He is a gigantic Jax. They are going to be able to take him down. Zatai with the Glitter Lance and the health picks on the outside. So far, a 1-for-1 trade. The top laners go down. How even is this game right now, Fruskarin? I can't even. What is this?
Oh, but Nami's still in the chase.
Now they're not done. Was Zatai? Oh my goodness, forced to flash away. And Nami going forward. They're trying to turn onto Clearlove. Illusion though. Oh my goodness. They take down Nami. And it's a 2-for-2 trade. But they're not done. Kid in there on the offensive, completely untouched. Gonna take down FCZF. He's looking for the hunt. Whoa, he's taken low now though. He's still alive. Clearlove goes for the dash. He can't finish it. Zatai takes him down. Oh my goodness, it's a 2-for-4 trade. Invictus, they are so happy about this right now, and they're pinging for Baron.
Kid coming up huge again on his Twitch play. This is what we've expected from him, seeing him play in the last 2 games, and this is going to be a free Baron. It is warded, so Syndra walking way over there. I don't know if Yu is going to be able to do anything here.
Not be able to blow up Zatai or Kitty's on the outside. Kid is pretty low too, and the Baron is not happy that there's a team finally turning the aggression on. But this is an extremely late Baron for a Chinese game. 38 minutes in. Well, Yu's going to be relegated to the sidelines, and watch this. Baron is going to be given up over to Invictus Gaming, giving them the edge in this one. The fight everyone was waiting for happened, and surprisingly, Koro fell very early in it.
I want to talk about the 2 power players in that team fight. Obviously, on the side of Invictus Gaming, Kid came up huge. A long sustained fight like that is always going to favor a Twitch because he has the best sustained damage of like any of the AD carries. So fantastic job from him, making sure that he was in the position. Those slight missteps, or I guess I should say side steps, dodging the Syndra long stun and that crazy Nami play when Clearlove went for the dive. The other big power play in that team fight was Yu's Syndra. It was a perfect Cataclysm, but what went wrong was as soon as the Cataclysm dropped down and the damage started to come out from Invictus Gaming, an amazing Syndra stun came across the entire team, effectively disrupting everything. So, I mean, it really could have gone either way. It was a complete outplay on the side of Invictus Gaming, so fantastic job.
Yeah, they really forced the aggression onto the tankier members, and until the very end there, Kid was left completely untouched. Yes, he was so squishy that they were able to burst him pretty low and nearly take him down with the dive from Clearlove, but fantastic positioning and protection for Kid. And once again, Name's over-aggressiveness burns him. He Valkyries and flashes to try and dive a backline, and he just gets locked up and blown up.
You're absolutely right. He needs to be much more conscious about that cooldown, especially against such a fed Twitch right now. I feel like this is so typical of Kid. I keep telling everyone, if you look at Kid's positioning in team fights, he is so spot on with the Twitch, with his Corki. I've always been very impressed with him, and again, that team fight completely on his back, and this Twitch now in the driver's seat.
Yeah, now, of course, he's still way behind in farm just because Name has been pushing waves like a machine gun. Well, I guess that's because he's got one mounted on Earth, but still, he's just not been as effective because they found a way to neutralize him. And this is an incredible thing for Invictus Gaming. If they pull this off, this is their first ever win against Edward, and looking like they're going to dive for it. Oh my goodness, Twitch is going to absolutely melt through Yu's health bar. The rat-a-tat-tat comes up huge, and they turn for this tower now. Clearlove's got nothing in the tank. Name is relegated to just watching. They push through. They're still going. Baron buff ticking strong. EDG is on the back foot.
With death, or excuse me, with you dead right now, that loses a lot of their wave. Oh, but a tidal wave.
Get the lockup. Here we go. Name is taken extremely low. FCZF trying to block things up. The Jarvanel's going to come in. They ignite it away, and Clearlove is the only one left standing. Jax trying to teleport back to lane. This is going to be a tower, an inhibitor. Oh my goodness, Koro's in the middle of it all, trying to lock up Kitties. Illusion's going to take him down. Big kill for him, and they're on the wrong side of the tower, but that's okay. Kitties, whoa, you're taking pretty low there. You got to wait for the minion wave. They're going to look to chase Clearlove away from this one. Inhibitor, first one of the game at 41 minutes. They're going to look to end the game here. This is going to be IG's first win if they pick this up over Edward Gaming. This is absolutely huge for them. They've got one Nexus tower. They're working on the second. Down it goes. Clearlove's got nothing in the tank. Yu's back up. He's trying to blow people up. Zatai's going to fall, and ult comes out. Should have been targeting Kid, though. The Nexus is falling, and a 41.5-minute game goes to Invictus Gaming, their first win over EDG.
That was incredibly amazing. Can we talk about Koro's decision to teleport into 4 people? He effectively kills Youngsu in the 1v1 Gragas vs Jax matchup, then immediately teleports to the tower that everyone's on, effectively putting himself in the middle of 5 people, immediately blows up. Don't know, in the words of Kobe, that teleport sucked. This is a huge win. Just like you said, EDG has effectively beaten Invictus Gaming every single time they played. This is the first time in history that this has ever happened for the two teams. Everyone kept saying, OMG, EDG, Starhorn is going to be the dark horse. No one counted on Invictus Gaming, and they just came up huge here.
They're not called Invictus for nothing. A fantastic, indomitable performance at the end of it. It all started with that fight over Baron. Invictus wanted it, Invictus got it, and they just turned around. An excellent second win from them, and they managed their first win ever over Edward Gaming. I am just so impressed. And you're right, with that teleport back from Koro, no idea what he was thinking, trying to split push for the win. Yes, Jax can split push for days, but he's not going to do it as fast as they were able to burst down those towers. The protection for Kid was spot on. It was so amazing. And Koro, I mean, that reminded me of that game that Evil Geniuses played the other week, where they tried to split push and ended up in this crazy base race. There was nothing left in the tank for them. They were just getting melted through, and what a fantastic job. I cannot commend IG enough. It was a great game by both teams. Edward Gaming had arguably a lead in the beginning of it, and they just couldn't do much. Here's the team fight they're going back to. You want to lead us through this one?
So a fantastic wild growth in performance from you right there to kind of sustain the fight out. So look at Kid's positioning this entire time in the fight, effectively in the back, not being touched. He's sitting right between Zatai and Illusion. Zatai and Kid is doing a fantastic job covering their flanks. Again, we talk about how IG's weakness is always going to be their consistency. Right now, Kid is so consistent. Fantastic performance from all of his games in the LPL. I feel like he's more on point than he's ever been before, and he is the hard carry for IG right now.
And I want to just talk a little bit about Kitties as well, because this bot lane just has such fantastic synergy.
Speaking of Kitties, look at this save.
I know, it's incredible. He hits the bubbles. He makes it look so easy, and he knows when to use his ult. Yes, he used it offensively on occasion, but he only did it when they were getting dove and wanted to turn around to fight. I have been blown away by this Nami performance, and I hope the rest of the LPL supports are taking notes, because that is how you play Nami.
You're absolutely right, and we saw Zero with his fantastic Thresh, and that's how you play Thresh, everyone, but this Nami, just that Nami, I can't believe the bait on Clearlove right now went so ham. Definitely showing that he's not necessarily a Lee Sin main, trying to pick up that champion, trying to find it in the meta, didn't find it there. But this is not the last game. They do have another game after this, so EDG is able to come back and take some points away from this. We've had a lot of historic moments already go down in the very first part of this LPL. OMG, EDG finally beat OMG in an LPL. That had never happened before. Obviously now this game, Invictus Gaming beating EDG for the first time ever. That had never happened before. I feel like this split is already starting up to be the most explosive we've ever had.
Yeah, Yeah, this is incredible, and IG continues their undefeated streak this split. I know it's very early to call, but if they do win a second game over Edward, this should put them in really serious
They're
consideration
undefeated.
for a favorite.
Yeah, if they win here, Invictus Gaming is the only undefeated team right now.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
I'm just
to,
saying,
see
Invictus
what they
hype,
do
real.
after this. Yeah, no, it's not just the bias. I know what you mean. This is a fantastic showing from them, and it just is. It's really strange that their late game was better than their early game. It's just sort of like a polar opposite of what they're used to, but the dynamic has shifted. And Invictus Gaming taking one game off of rivals Edward Gaming. We'll see how game 2 goes, and we'll let it kick over to a little bit of commercials, guys, so please do not go anywhere. Once again, you're watching the LPL English coverage brought to you by Ghost Gamers and Games in Asia. And once again, big ups thanks to Twitch for making this happen for us as well. Guys, don't go anywhere. We will be right back after a brief cooldown.
马上回来。
范冰冰健康美丽课堂，每天动一动，每天大声笑。